Special meeting, August 24, 2001, of the Cobra Police Service Board, and I entertain a motion to open the public session. Member Kerr, Member Henderson, all in favor? Carried. And the traditional land acknowledgement, the Cobra Police Service Board respectfully acknowledges that we're located in the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississauga, Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nation, which includes Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Rama, Beaujolais, and Georgina Islands First Nation. Cobra Police Service Board respectfully acknowledges that the Williams Treaties First Nations have been stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters, and today remain vigilant over their health and integrity for generations to come. I can have any disclosures of pecuniary interest. None, no pecuniary interest, and noted. No presentations today, and we're dealing with the issue of body-worn cameras from business arising from our last board meeting a couple weeks ago. And today, we certainly welcome the press here. Thank you for your interest in our meeting today and the issue of body-worn cameras. It's a very important issue to the Cobra Police Service and the Cobra Police Service Board, and not only then the citizens of the town of Cobourg. And today the board will deliberate and decide the direction of body-worn cameras to the Cobra Police Service. As a board, we strive to support operational excellence and look to leverage existing and new technologies to improve service to the community while increasing accountability and trust. Body-worn cameras have been a top of mind for many police service boards and police services across the province this past year as communities call for increased transparency and improved community service. Over the last year, the Cobra Police Service Board has received information on body-worn cameras through reports, presentation from service members, and published guidance and best practices on body-worn camera programs from the Information and Privacy Commissioner of Ontario. We've engaged with residents and stakeholders and welcome public feedback on the topic for consideration. As a board, we continue to be accountable to taxpayers, reflect the current needs of the community we serve, and support our members in achieving operational efficiencies and excellence in policing at the Cobra Police Service. Today, we come together as a trusted community partner in protecting the safety, security, and quality of life of the town of Cobourg when we make our decision. Thank you. So we'll start the meeting today. I know there has been a motion circulated, and if I could call on Vice Chair Kerr to put the motion on the floor, and then the seconder, and we can debate the issue.
Whereas the Cobra Police Service Board, the board, has received a detailed report and presentation on the potential of a body-worn camera project for the Cobra Police Services, and further that the community has been given multiple opportunities to engage with the board in a variety of formats, including community consultative online survey, attend or view the presentation on body-worn cameras, and the opportunity to provide additional feedback over the summer 2021 period. The Cobra Police Services Board continues to support the exploration of body-worn cameras in delivering enhanced and efficient community and officer safety, and directs the staff to prepare and tender a request for a proposal for the project. The RFP should provide options for the board to consider in operationalizing this concept. Further, that the board's deliberations will remain transparent and available for public comment during the final decision process.
Mover and the seconder, Member Graham. Well, as the motion reads, there's actually a lot of information in the motion, and part of it will be the operationalization of the concept. This RFP will consider body-worn cameras and also the issue of digital evidence management systems that go hand in hand with both the body-worn cameras and some of the police video that we have in our cruisers today. So it's an all-encompassing RFP that will be put out. It might not happen all at once, or will happen all at once. It depends on the cost to the community and what the RFP actually has in it as far as providing equipment that will be compatible with what we already have at the station, and also what the province has passed as far as the vendor of choice for the digital management system. So, any other comments regarding the motion and the RFP? Your Anders?
Oh, through your chair. At this point, as a member of the board, I support this in principle, the RFP, because I believe that will give us the accurate options and financial picture, which is critical as we prepare not only the Cobourg Police Services Board budget, but as we align that budget along with Cobourg Council, which is doing an earlier budget this year, as you will know, in October, November. It will also allow us to see not only the actual cost, but almost a form of asset management, because to Member Kerr's point, what does staffing, what does that look like if we're going to go in this direction? More importantly, what do the costs of maintenance and future costs look like? Member Kerr also mentioned behind the scenes and the amount of paperwork that is required, IT, yes, but also to track and monitor under very strict rules under provincial regulations. So I'm very curious to understand the full, complete picture of what we're dealing with. And I think the only way to get that accurate information is through an RFP. So I do support the motion before us. I'd also like to suggest too, we depend a lot on surveys sometimes to the public. And I know from the public there was a great core of support for body-worn cameras. But I must admit, when I compared the number to the actual number of households in Cobourg, if you look at that percentage, then one could argue it was very low. So when we do this next process, I believe if we can share that information, what we're able to share with the public, it might endure another level of public engagement when we have the real facts before us. And I would encourage the board, through as chair, to do that, because I'd like to know through the process, is the public still very supportive of this particular initiative? So thank you for allowing me to make those comments, but I want to end by saying I do support the motion, because I think without the RFP, we would just be guessing.
As far as the public consultation goes, the last sentence, the board deliberations will remain transparent and available for public comment during the final decision process. So once we get the RFP and then the report from Chief Vandergraaf, that information will be there, and the public will be able to see it, and they'll be fully invited to our deliberations here at the board.
To you, Chair. I just wanted to follow up from our presentation that we had. We were initially given information that we potentially would be the first small town police service of our size, of this size, to be moving forward with the body-worn camera project, potentially. I was just curious if there was any further information as to if there was other police forces of our size that are looking at this project at this time.
There is one, and I forget what it is offhand. They're either going operational, or they're debating it next or in October.
Okay.
And it was approximately our size. Can't remember which one it is offhand.
Okay.
This will be on the horizon of many police service boards and services,
Okay.
as we go forward.
And I do support the motion. I just, like, in my research that I conducted, that I just think it is something prudent that we should think about before we go into this discussion for the future of body-worn cameras. Last year, the Cobourg Police Service received 10,994 calls for service, of which led to 4 public complaints. that is at 0.036% of issues that arise from our Cobourg Police Service, which is a huge credit to our officers that have done fantastic work. So while I support the motion, I am relieved that the cost associated with this will be detailed out to the public, just because I haven't seen any numbers to date that have gone out yet. I have seen an estimate, and I do believe it is substantial cost, personally, in my own opinion, that this could associate with. So I do support the motion, and I do look forward to seeing the full cost of the RFP come in.
Well, as we've seen in our presentations regarding body-worn cameras, it's not just a tool to effectively deal with complaints against the police. It's also a tool to have our police officers protected from the public, from their abuse. As we've seen in a number of videos and heard, they do take a lot of abuse on the road. They're generally met with unfortunate circumstances where they're not going to make a person happy. So there is a lot of that. There's the idea of evidence management. The body-worn camera footage is also used in court as far as laying charges, either under the Highway Traffic Act or criminal charges or whatever. So it is an evidence-based tool as well. It's not just used for one thing, to protect the public or whatever. It's a tool that is useful in a 360-degree kind of vision.
Absolutely, and I totally agree, and I support what you just said, that there is multi facets of body-worn cameras that are an impact to the police officer. And I do recognize that. Like I said, I am excited for the final cost, and that's all it is for me, is the transparency. If the community sees the cost and are okay with that, it is a tool that I do find important. And I credit to this board that we are trailblazing as the first small-town police service. From what I've received from the presentation and the research that I've done, that are engaging in this process. So I am happy that we are there, and I am looking forward to the results. So thank you.
Any other comments? Gary?
Yes. Yes, though we are a small service, I think we've shown that we strive to be innovative, whether it's through our business unit, whether it's through our use of special constables, tiered policing, whatever, we kind of take the helm and kind of move forward in towards the future of policing. And I think this board, always is very supportive of the members and the chief to give the tools that will better support the service. I think this is a step in the right direction. Yes, we are small, but as I think member Graham said, being trailblazers in this moment to move this forward. It also is going to protect both the members of our service and the public, which I think is very critical. Whether an issue arises, and it's great that we have very low, issues, as Member Graham stated. But I think, with the money we have for capital through the business unit, I think this board should take that and put it towards this kind of project and move forward. So I'm going to obviously support this, as I stated earlier, and I think there is some research out there, that shows kind of costing, so you can have a general sense already of what it's going to cost. But I think it's something that we need to do.
Thank you. Even though we are a smaller service, doesn't mean that we should think small. We have to be innovative. We have to be trailblazing, and we have to use the facilities we have here in Cobourg as far as our CIR revenue to help the taxpayers afford these kind of pieces of equipment that are costly. So even though we are small, we can't think small. We have to think big, and then we'll have to blaze the trail for the other police services. Any other comments before I call? Vice Chair Kerr?
I'll say am in favor of moving ahead with the RFP, or I already made the motion. But having said that, I still do have some reservations about the actual need for this program in our community at this time. And if I may, I've got a document in front of me that we were presented with during the presentation on body-worn cameras. It's titled Guidance for the Use of Body-Worn Cameras by Law Enforcement Authorities. And I'm just going to refer to one heading here, which is called Necessity. There must be a demonstrated operational need that a body-worn camera program is meant to address. What operational needs do law enforcement agencies have for which body-worn cameras are a solution? Body-worn cameras should not be adopted simply because they may be considered a popular enforcement tool. They must be judged necessary to address specific operational circumstances in the jurisdiction they are deployed in. And referring to Member Graham's statistics, I would suggest that at this present time, this force does not have issues with public complaints, et cetera, So as we move forward in this process, and obviously we're going to be moving forward once we get the RFP, I'm going to have to be convinced that that the majority of the taxpayers in this town will want a body-worn camera put in place for our force, particularly, and here again, I have not seen actual costs, but I know they are going to be high. And as a board, and all our board members recognize this, in a public corporation, the board represents the stakeholders, the shareholders. On this board, we represent the taxpayers. And I feel we have to do our best to keep the police services budget at a reasonable level. And I do have a very strong feeling that if a body-worn camera program is put in place, that the police budget will rise substantially. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks. Any more comments before I call for the vote? All in favor of the motion on the floor? Carried. Okay, so before I conclude the open portion of our special board meeting, I will welcome Councillor Jordan. You a little late, you got the gist of it. There was a motion made prior to you arriving and some opening comments by me, and they're both available if you want them. Okay. So at this point in time, our next regular board meeting, the Court Police Service Board, will be September 21st, 2001, here at 739 Darcy. And if I can have a motion to go into closed session. Member Burkett, Member Henderson, all in favor? Carried.